Hey everyone, thanks for watching. We are doing our weekly conversations with Anna, and this week we are going to look at her goals for 2020, and this should just be a lot of fun. So let's welcome Anna to the show. How you doing, Anna?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. So was this fun to do, uncomfortable, early? What'd you think of the exercise of putting it down?
I thought it was a really good exercise. So we had talked last week. I had started kind of thinking through at a very high level all of my personal goals, most important, because we talked about goal setting based on joy
Yep.
and happy and peace. And so I thought this year I'm going to focus mostly on joy and happy and peace and see how much time do I have left to give to continued growth in my investments and my business. And so I had worked on some time blocking, and now I kind of drilled down and said, okay, now let's put some actual numbers and small goals to reach those big, hurdles of growth. And so I loved the spreadsheet that you did, and it helped me to put it together in front of my face a little bit differently. So I enjoyed the exercise, and this is just my first draft. So now I've got to tweak it after we talk and figure out, can I actually do all of this within the time allotted that I have in my time blocking? So
This should be fun. So I'm going to look at this with the lens of joy, happiness, and peace. I'm taking notes. So
awesome.
why don't you go ahead and try to share your screen, and we will just we'll just take a look at what you got.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, can you see my screen?
I can. Yep. Starts with health. Yep.
Starts with health. So I am, like I said, really focused this year on getting my health back. And, we talk about elusive balance all the time, and it's hard to grow unless you're really being purposeful about it. And so I'm committed to, kind of slowing down a little bit the drive and the business growth in order to focus a little more on my health and to really make that a top priority. So my goal is really to get healthy and to lose the weight that gets me to a healthy weight. And so I'm not going to put in there, I need to lose 1 pound a week or 2 pounds a week, because I've done that so many times. I know that that's what I need to do. But if the number's all that's driving me, I'm going to feel either success or a failure.
Yep.
Where if I know that I'm taking all of these steps to take better care of myself, then it is going to yield better health. And then it will yield weight loss and getting to wherever my body wants to get with these healthy habits.
I like it.
So I am committed to doing cardio, abs, and weights 3 times a week. And my cardio that I've selected is spin class. So that kind of takes care of all the lower body. And I've just started to get back to doing it. And that's something that I enjoy. So I know I can stick with. And then, like we talked about last week, I am committed to doing intermittent fasting at least 5 days a week. So I didn't put a specific time, because most of the time I'm going to do it in the morning and, fast and then, eat between like 8 and 4 or 8 and 12. But then certain nights a week when my family's home and they're not all in sports, then those nights we'll eat late so we can have dinner as a family. But I want to make sure that I'm fasting at least 5 days a week and then kind of switch it up 2 days a week.
Cool.
Another important habit for me is drinking water and no soda. So my only vice in the world, I say, is that I am addicted to Diet Dr. Pepper.
Ah, Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper, yeah.
I love it. It tastes good, and it's fizzy, and I really enjoy it. And, it's kind of my crutch, but also something that I enjoy. And it gives me like just that amount of caffeine that can keep me up till I need to go to bed, but not keep me up all night.
Yeah.
And what's really bad is I get to where I drink that all the time, and then I don't drink water. And water is so important for our health and for weight loss. And so I tend to live on way too much caffeine. And so I have to actually mark down to drink 8 glasses of water so I can remind myself constantly to do it.
Okay.
No sugar or bread 6 days a week. 1 day a week we go out as a family, or we have, a party or an event of some sort. And so I really believe in diet for flexibility, and that you can stick to and sustain. So a time for feasting, a time for fasting, and hopefully 1 day a week I can afford a piece of bread or a piece of cake or a sugar cookie from Christmas or something like that, and not be upset that I cheated. Kind of silly, but I get so busy, and maybe you can relate to this with your wife, but I get so busy during the day that half the time I'm like 1 o'clock crawling to bed and I just go straight to bed. I don't wash my face. I don't moisturize, and I'm 45 and the wrinkles are starting to come. So I'm like, I need to remind myself every single morning and night, wash my face and moisturize.
Know thyself. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. And then to take my vitamins every day. I have vitamins I need to take, and I don't because I forget and I get too busy. So I have to remind myself, do this first and then get busy. And then for my own just kind of emotional well-being, it's very rare that I have done anything for myself because I just get too busy taking care of everything else. Mm-hmm. So I put down that I'm going to make myself do a pedicure once a month and have lunch with a friend at least once a month. And I feel like that'll be, something that'll be uplifting for me, relaxing for me, and help me also to be a better friend. Because quite frankly, when you're driving and really busy, it's hard to make time for friendships and things that really are soul feeding because you're just too busy with everything that falls in your lap.
Yeah. The only one in there that I sort of want to just push you on a little bit is that last one. I think I think that's a layup. And I think it's actually so little that you could almost forget. I think you need to push yourself and maybe do that once every other week, having lunch with a friend, because it is pretty recharging, and you could just talk about other stuff, right? We get so wrapped up in real estate, and sometimes it's nice to just talk, right? About the world and other stuff. And frankly, you probably could tie that into the pedicure. I mean, I'm sure you have girlfriends or maybe even men that like to go get pedicures.
That's good. Because I did weekly and I thought, I know I would like to, but I know it will never happen. So I did monthly. So I'm glad that you said that. I'm going to make it biweekly.
There you go. I like that one. That feels better. Okay.
Awesome.
I like that.
And then spiritually, I just want to make sure that I'm actually spending time every day in the Bible and in prayer. It just helps me to really focus on what's important and focus as much on my character and eternity as I do about temporal daily things that get in the way. And so for me, it's really important. And then family devotional time 3 times a week, with 4 kids, they are all in sports. And I kid you not when I say right now it is a 6-day-a-week activity. So between the 4 of them, they're all in a sport. 2 of them are in drama. 2 of them are in the choir. 1 plays an instrument. Wow. And it's so hard for us to have time to sit down together and purposefully build character and purposefully have conversations where we talk about, spiritual things and our own life and things that we're struggling with and that they just want to talk about. So I'm making it a point that 3 times a week I have time blocked, specific time where I make everybody get off their devices, come in the living room, and we sit together as a family and we spend half an hour, together, just having some time devoted to growth and to each other and relationships. Yeah. And then to serve in a ministry or outreach at least once a quarter. So it's really important to me to give back in different ways and to be involved in some different ministries that are important to me. I used to do a lot with inner city youth in Houston, and where I live kind of in the middle of nowhere, there's really not much of a big city for me to get involved with, with inner city youth very frequently. And my time with my own children and pouring into them makes it such that it's hard to do anything more frequently than that. But typically what happens is, we give and support certain, ministries, or I might sing at church, which I do. But I'm not like purposefully making myself at least once a quarter and, get out and do some type of outreach. And so it's important to me that I start doing that with my kids and that we serve and give back.
I like it. I love everything there. That keeps you well-rounded and grounded and decompressed, and everyone's growing. I like it. Yeah,
thank you. And then kind of like the devotional 3 times a week, focusing on my family. So, we say, what's most important to you? And most people will say health, spirituality, and family, but we don't make as much time for those things as we do, the business growth. So I put these as the top 3 so that I'm looking at them first. And one is that we have family night at least once a week, playing games, having dinner together where I don't have to cook, character building and just building relationships. And it's one of those things, just like a date night. Like if you don't schedule it, then you're not going to do it.
That's
So
awesome.
in fact, I forgot to write date night on here. I'm going to have to write that on at least every other week.
There you go.
Yeah, at least every other week, because it doesn't happen if we don't make time for it. So I'm going to add date night.
There you go.
Here we go. It's good. It's good to talk through these things because you realize, oh man, I didn't think about this.
There you go.
I want to say weekly, but it won't happen. So I'll say bi-weekly.
Yeah, you can alternate it with your friend lunches or something. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, my husband's my friend some days.
Some days.
And then my son, Dane. So we talked about, right now he's a junior in high school, and we're really working on helping to develop him as a real estate investor because that's something he's really passionate about. He's seen what we've done. And so each week I'm setting aside a time to have him listen to a podcast or two, read a book, and have an REI teaching session. And I thought we would do this every day, and it just doesn't happen because he's so involved with so many things. But he got your book, and he's very thankful. So we're working through reading through that, and then he's going to send you a thank you note. So thank you so much for sending that to him.
Of course.
But those are the kind of things that are really important to me to make sure that in the couple years we have him left at home, that we're really pouring into him in terms of his finances and real estate and how to have your assets pay your liabilities and not have to ever work for someone else if you don't want to.
Amen. Cool.
And then one family outing per week. So in addition to a weeknight, we like to go out to lunch on Sunday afternoons, or, we'll take a drive and, get ice cream and talk and do different things. So we just want to make it purposeful that we're fitting that in and being less sporadic. And then I really liked your experiences, actually putting that down on paper just to make you remember that, hey, we need to hurry up and do this. Because I tend to be like, oh my goodness, summer's here. What are we going to do? And then we frantically plan around things. And so we have talked as a family about doing at least a 2-week trip every summer, a week-long family trip over spring break, which we've never done, and one trip to Texas per year, to visit my family. So we're working right now on planning our spring break in Florida. We're finally going to go to Disney World. We've never done it. So we're working on that now.
Awesome.
Any other thoughts on family?
No, I think that's great. And it helped with the family outing that you kind of walked through that, because I was starting to think you were getting busy every day, but the family outing could be any time of day, could be at lunch, could be breakfast. So that makes perfect sense now. I like that.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And one neat thing is the kids, they're allowed to have 2 personal days during the year, and we've never taken them. And I'm like, okay, but now I'm going to start, now that I can, picking a child, and that week, pull them out of school or that month and just do a mommy child, day during school when the others are in school. So I'm excited to start doing that too.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. All right.
Thank you. So then I have impact, and I broke this down into social media, podcast, events, and then separately coaching, course, book.
Okay.
And so I'm still working through this and how this is going to look, but I am loving co-hosting with you every week.
Oh, it's fun.
And something that your listeners don't know, but is I'm very behind on posting my own video every week. And so I have that time blocked starting in January, a specific time every week where I'm going to put a video out there for you and for our listeners just to help with some things I'm thinking about.
Nice.
And then posting on my Facebook page and in my group 3 times a week. So sometimes I do, and sometimes I go a week or 2 or 3 or 4, just depending on how busy I am. So I'm not real strategic about it. I really just have shared as things come to my mind or my heart, or I see something someone needs help with, and just kind of let it grow organically.
Yeah.
And I still want to do that, but I'm just going to make myself at least post 3 times a week to give back.
Yeah, your ability to touch people just with your authentic nature and just to put it out there is I don't know, pretty rare, pretty unique, whatever you want to say. It's fun to watch it just explode.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Especially because I was so not a social media person, and I'm like, I really don't want to do this. So I'm just I'll just at least start communicating with other investors on Facebook, and then it's just kind of organically, become a brand.
Absolutely, no question.
So, and then I really want to be very strategic about speaking at 4 high-level events a year, because my heart really is to be able to give back and to teach and to coach people, but I don't have the bandwidth, as we've talked about before, because of my own personal goals to really be able to coach very many people, or to do, a weekly webinar that's a paid-for webinar or anything like that, because I just don't have the time to do it. So the way that I really get the most value of bringing value to other people is by being valuable to other podcast hosters and to other speakers and people that are putting together events where I can, give back to them by being a valuable speaker, and also give back to their audience by bringing value. I don't get paid for those things. I just do it because I enjoy it and I want to give back. So for me, it's, 4 is enough that I'm traveling only once a quarter, to an event. And then once a quarter, I'm going to my own mastermind that's personal. And being away twice a quarter already is a lot for my family when I have to leave them behind. So I picked that number very strategically, that I'm not going to travel just to go speak at an event, but it has to be something I really believe in, and only quarterly.
Yeah. So given that this is a 13-week schedule here, would it be better to say speak at 1 high-level event a quarter as opposed to 4 a year?
Yes. That's good. Thanks.
That way you hold yourself accountable every 13-week period.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And then on the podcast, I usually get asked to do a few a month, and
I can imagine.
4 or 5 a month. And it's, I love it. I enjoy it, but it's also taking up a lot of time. So I thought, let me at least do 1. And if I have to schedule them out a little bit to where I can fit it in a peaceful way, then I'll do that.
Yeah, I think I like that. You got to control when you get a name and it really grows. You've got to learn to say no, or at least not yet, to some folks. So yeah, I get that. I get that a lot.
So I could do more, but I'm like, if I can do 1 a month, I'll feel pretty good.
Absolutely. Okay. Awesome. I like that. All right.
Okay, good. Now, impact. So this is one I really need to think through and flesh through better, because I started to do this last year and it quickly went out of control with the amount of time that was needed to do this. So I have created a course, and I know lots of people have courses out there, but I've had a lot of people ask me, show me how to do it 1 at a time. And, very similar to what you teach in your books. And, not trying to teach syndication or big multifamily, because I haven't been doing that part long enough, but teaching the basics of why do you buy a rental property? What are the best practices for the kinds of properties you should buy and why? How can you go about it different ways, finding and funding and partnering and all of that? And so I created this course, and I was going to launch it, and I was going to charge for it, and I was going to do, a weekly Zoom class like a lot of other courses are doing. And as soon as I put it out there that I might do it, I just had, I kid you not, 30, 40 people a day. I'm ready for you to coach me. And I'm like, okay. I was up just responding to messages 2-3 hours a night and not getting anything done. And my husband's like, you're retired and you're not coming to bed, and we're getting the worst of you, the tired, exhausted you. And I said, you know what, you're right. I have to pull it back. And so I still have the heart to help people, and I still want to put out what I have because I believe it's valuable content, but I want to do it in a slow, strategic way that's going to get it to the most people without me having to spend a lot of my own personal time personally coaching people. So with that said, what I started thinking through was, 1 coaching student per quarter, 1 new. So I don't want, I have 4 or 5 people a week asking me to coach them. And I've told them right now I don't have the bandwidth because I know I don't. And I want to give them the best of me. So, if I have a course, I can say, do my course first, go through it, and then come to the coaching session prepared for us to help you take it from there. So right now, if I have 1 new student a quarter, and I'm helping, no more than 4 to 8 people a year, that's a number that I'm pretty comfortable with, where I feel like I can really give them the best of me without taking away time that I don't have to give. So thinking through that, in addition to that, and then I'll let you give me your feedback overall, is I thought about also, people keep saying, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And everybody says that. And I've thought about it, and I have plenty of content to write, but I haven't had time to sit down and do it. And so I thought possibly what I would do is translate that course into a book where it's more a book level, but has some tips and tricks. Mm-hmm. Publish that book. I'll be in my second published book here in a couple of months, where I'm a co-author. So I did the one, Resilience, Turning Your Setback into a Comeback.
I remember. I read that.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. I have another one coming out that's a collaboration as well, called Success Habits of Highly Effective People, or Highly Successful People. And so I'm excited. I'm working on that. But once I've done that, I'd like to kind of publish my own book. And I want to at least work on it every week throughout the year and until I can get it published. So I'd like to say my goal is to finish it this year. I just want to make sure that it's the right time.
Yeah.
Before I say every day work on it and you have to have a deadline by the end of the year. But then I get it done. So give me your feedback overall.
So we both obviously do what we do now, and we give back. I'm nervous for you with this coach one new student a quarter, because it's, once you get to one, you can do 0, right? Because that's easy. You just put a no, not open at the door. But once you open it to 1, you're going to have a lot of people trying to sneak in and go around the corner and, oh, woe is me, and all of that. I almost think you reverse it, and given that you want to do all these other things, what might be more interesting for you is to put out one, I don't know what you would call it, one section or one idea or one thing. Like maybe it's chapters in the book, or what, I'm just trying to brainstorm right now. But basically, hey, this is step A. We're going to go or a recipe or whatever however you want to put the story together. Put one thing out a month, and then let whoever consume it, as opposed to taking one student and taking them from 0 to hero. You can just sort of walk everybody once a month through something, and that allows you to do everything else you want to do, potentially write a book, write a course. Because I'm just really nervous. That whole one coaching thing, that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. But if you go, hey, I'm in January, I'm going to teach this. That way you control what this is, and whoever consumes it, great. You likely only get questions about this or that. And I think that might be a better way to both fill the cup of helping as many as you can, also to limit your time, because you're going to control what the widget or is. I would challenge that. I'm really nervous for this one student a quarter thing.
Yeah, and I'll definitely think about that. I think part of my thought was, if I want to make sure that I'm bringing real value. Yeah. And so many groups that kind of do that, like, okay, we're going to all be on the same page, but students start at such different levels. Yeah. And if I'm going to do it, I want to be compensated for it. So I'm never going to be this coach that's charging you 20, 30, 40 grand a year to have my time. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going to spend a lot of time with you, I want to be able to custom take you from where you are to where you want to go, if I'm the right person with the right experience for what you want to do. If you come to me, and I do have people come to me and say, I want you to teach me syndication. I said, listen, I've only syndicated one deal. Right. So no, I'm not the person. Right. I'll point them to a book. But if they say, teach me to build my own small portfolio with small singles or small multis, I'm the person for that. I have the experience that I can do that, but I want to be compensated for it. So I am coaching a couple people right now, and I do have time blocked to do it. Okay. And it's basically a 6 month, you've got me for 6 months. We're meeting once a week. Here's what we do. And then at the end of the 6 months, you can either re-up or I'll add somebody else. So I've kind of used it as an income stream that allows me to give back, but also be compensated. Okay. But I think what you're saying is I need to be careful about filling my time and filling my calendar with too many students. So maybe I should say 1 per quarter, but.
Yeah, I'm just nervous because what I see happening is once you go from 0 to putting this out there, how do you pick the one? And then everybody's going to try to game the system and ask for special favors, and you're such a warm-hearted person, you're going to say yes to 3 or 4 other people,
Uh,
and
yeah.
pretty soon you're back to where you were.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I have to be really careful. You're right.
Yeah, and maybe, and again, I'm just brainstorming, right? This is yours, but maybe you control it by going, okay, everybody, you're going to get here are the 4 basic steps or whatever they are, and you're going to release those in January and February. Everybody has to go through them before they talk to me. And when you get to the end, you can apply here or whatever it is. And maybe because what you have to do is you have to get to the lowest common denominator. You've got to make sure everybody asking to be a student at least has some baseline.
Absolutely.
So maybe there's something there. I don't know, but yeah, it's an interesting riddle. That one just scares me.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. I'm going to think through that because I've been thinking through it for a while and I haven't landed on the pace that makes me comfortable. Mm-hmm. The 2 that I'm helping right now, one, a paid coaching, and the other, somebody in my family that I'm walking through this with. 2 is good. 2 is about as many as I want at one time.
Okay.
So I thought of even, 1 per quarter was kind of like, okay, well, if I stagger it, 1 person rolls off every 3 months and I pick up a new person where I'm only coaching 2 at a time. So yeah, I need to hone in on that.
Yeah.
So ask me about that again.
Okay. You got it. All right. That's cool. All right. I like it. I like where you're thinking though. That's good.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. So then moving to asset and property management. So this is like the stuff I have to do, when you accumulate rentals, suddenly you really have to make sure that you are working hard on them and that you're meeting your business plan. And so you have to take some strategic time to do that. So I really want to systematize at least 1 process every week. And there are so many processes that it's important to systematize the timing of when you do it, how you do it, what reports you're looking at, who you're connecting with to get answers to different things. And I have, when you work full time and you do investing on the side, you have lots of well-meaning ideas, but you never get to them. Yeah. So putting it down here is like, okay, now I'm going to check myself. Like if I haven't systematized a process this week, then I'm too busy. So I need to take time to sit down and systematize it. And the reason I want to do 1 a week is because I'm also working on teaching my husband and my son the things that I'm doing. So my son definitely is wanting to learn, and I want to teach him not only the nitty-gritty, hard, do-it-himself, learn on his own rental, but the business side of thinking like a businessman, not just a person who's working in your business, but on it. Mm-hmm. And, one of our holes we talked about this year, I hired a financial advisor to help us to really think through legacy planning. Mm-hmm. And planning for what happens if something happens to you. And while we have life insurance and, I've kind of gone over, here's what you would do if I died, they really couldn't take the bull by the horns and run the day-to-day stuff that I still do. Yeah. And so we're very strategic about over this next year, making sure that either one of them, the 3 of us in the units that are our families that we intend to keep in our family for a long time, right? We all have the competencies and skills to be able to do anything that needs to be done on it.
Yeah, the one question I have there for 36 and 37 is, have you taken the time to kind of brainstorm and inventory a list of processes so you hold yourself accountable to what's on that list as opposed to making it up? Okay, cool. All right.
Absolutely. Yep. I've had a list and I keep adding to it and not much is coming off of it.
That's okay. Well, that's what this is for. This is going to hold you to it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When people think, oh, you're doing this, you got it all figured out. No, we do that.
No, it's not really.
We figure out some of it we're like really sharp and other things are just like, we're not so great about that part. So we can all improve. So this is all about improving.
Yeah, totally agree.
And allowing me to have more bandwidth to buy bigger, continue to buy bigger deals. So, and then moving from property management to asset management on our personal rentals. So, our choice to keep the property management and for our family units being self-managed and just using contractors has been a very strategic a personal decision based on our family dynamic and my husband's business and skills and what he enjoys. But ultimately, even though he enjoys the property management and it makes sense for us to do that, and we don't have a lot of good property management choices in my area, we want to be very strategic about moving to some system, whether we hire our own person or hire my son and my husband helps, and it's more work for a couple years but has a strategic reason for it that we can then let it go, or whether we go third party. We want to move toward really being able to asset manage without property managing our own small multis.
Couldn't agree more. And, you know, my hope for you there is your son sort of goes the way I think we both think it might go, and becomes its, you know, that's it, becomes a company, and he not only manages yours, but others, and really could be something cool if it goes that way. I think that's pretty awesome. That's
definitely the vision.
Yeah, I get it.
And then really reviewing financials weekly, which I typically do, but there are some weeks when, you know, things get crazy and emergencies happen and criticals and urgents kind of push the norm, and you're like, oh no, I didn't look at the financials this week, and you know, I've got to take care of something. So reviewing financials every week for every single property that I'm asset managing, or at least every LLC. And then meeting with my property managers every week to review and strategize. Right now we talk on the phone quite a bit, but you know, there's something to be said about face-to-face stepping in for the ones that are local, and then for the ones that are afar, you know, we're just continuing our weekly meetings. And then just reviewing our properties to find holes and additional income opportunities, and reviewing those that we might want to sell. So, you know, I've really been in this accumulation phase for these several years, and I haven't sold very much. I only sold a few when I knew I needed to retire, and so I needed some cash sitting aside, and just to be careful with that. But, you know, as much as I really do like small rentals, and I will keep buying small rentals, there is something to be said for when you know you're at the top of the market, it's a wise time to sell. And if you can find another bigger property to roll in, you know, the sale from a couple of properties, then it might make sense to consolidate some of your assets into one location. And so I think it's really important to always be, you know, looking at least once a quarter at every property that you own and saying, where are there holes in the operation of this property? Where are there leaks in the money? What can I do to create additional income, whether that means, you know, more rent, or whether it means update something and add an amenity, just really thinking strategically unit by unit, and then finding those that are kind of either have the most equity that you could use to roll into something that you want if something else that you want comes up. Or finding those that are kind of your pain point, your property that it might have been good for a while, but it just doesn't fit your goals anymore, and just selling it. So I really want to make sure that every quarter I'm doing that exercise for every single property that I own.
I think this is I think 2020 is going to be an interesting year, because I think at least in most markets we are at the peak, and we're certainly near the peak in some portions of asset classes. So as you know, in our book, that was a key element to our success is getting out in the last top, right? And again, by getting out, it's 1031 exchange. It's not sell and go to cash. I like that you're looking at that, because I think everybody has to ask. It's not always about acquisition. Sometimes it's about disposition or removing a headache, or it doesn't match, you know, whatever. There could be lots of reasons that a sale makes sense. And I think people need to ask those questions, especially in 2020.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then the next section is network development. Just making sure that I am not living on an island. You know, for lots of years, I pretty much was like my husband and I, we didn't really, you know, think about partners and investors and any of that. I mean, we had a couple strategic partnerships, you know, one deal, 50-50 split, depending on how we did it. But now that I am really focused on larger multifamily and operating bigger deals, we are looking for properties that are a little bit bigger, where we would syndicate them and bring investors into some, you know, assets that we would be purchasing. And so I want to make sure that I have a lot of people contacting me, asking me all the time, add me to your investor list. Well, you can't really do that because you don't really know about the investor. You want to make sure that their goals and investment needs match the kind of properties that you're actually finding. And so I'm making it a point to at least contact one potential investor per week. And if I get a bunch of emails, I'll reply to them, and then I'll schedule out the meetings so that we can have a conversation and really learn about what they want and whether I'm a good fit for that or whether I need to refer them to someone else.
Yeah. Do you want to put accredited investor just to be specific there, or is that
I
not
don't,
specific?
because there might be deals that we have that are small enough where we would allow some non-accredited investors that we have relationships with.
Makes sense. Okay. Cool.
And then, this has again been on my to-do list for a year and I haven't done it, or I haven't stuck with it. So to create a CRM system and actually add investor notes. So right now I've got a notepad where every time I talk to someone, I take all these notes and I'm like, when I get time, I'm going to put them into the CRM system.
Yeah.
And then you create it, and then you actually have to talk to your list. So, I'm not good at having them and then following up with them every quarter or talking to them in some way and keeping them updated. So I want to make sure that I'm strategically working on contacting a new investor per week, actually putting the notes into my CRM, and then creating at least a quarterly newsletter or something where I'm following up with those investors quarterly to just let them know what we're up to and whether we might have something that's of interest to them.
Okay.
And then my company, Apex Multifamily, that I started with my JV partner, Rob Neidlinger, we are working on expanding and finding strong assets in our area that we would operate, and also partnering a few strategic partnerships in some other locations where we really want to invest and we believe in the market, but we need some other partners that kind of are more boots on the ground. So, talking to some potential other operators and partners that we trust and we think are doing things the right way in the markets we want to be in, it's important to us to at least start making contact with somebody every week.
The question I have there, is row 49 and row 50 how you get to row, whatever that is, 48, the 60K increase, or are those separate?
Yes. So one is really the developing the network. One is really developing the network. Two is ideally we want to get to, 2 large deals for us this year. I want to get to 12 more personal units, but those 2 numbers are somewhat arbitrary. And so I don't want the goal itself to be, I need 2 large multifamily, 12 units, and I want 60,000 more a year. I'm hoping that if I put in the time and I make these other activities, these contacts happen, that I will be able to, achieve that number and achieve that number of deals.
Yeah. You know how I feel. I just don't like unit counts. I think that's such a social media driven thing. Almost. It's almost
you know how I feel about it.
Yeah. So I might rather see you say, and again, I don't know how it ties out, but maybe it's 20K increase for Apex and 40K for your family. I'm just trying to get to the 60.
Like separate it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I just hate unit counts because I think it promotes bad behavior. I mean, it can.
Yes. And I think that's a good point too. Like if I'm talking to somebody else, like an investor, I'm going to say, don't focus on the units at all. Just focus on opportunities. And I still believe that. So for me, it's like, okay, I want to I want to buy properties this year. They're going to yield me $60,000 a year more just from those properties.
Yep, totally get it.
Over a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And a way I think that I can get there is, buy 12 more units on my own and get 2 more through Apex. That may not be how it happens.
Right.
But because I know myself and I know I'm not going to chase a deal just to chase a deal.
Right. But how do you break that?
I make that a caveat. Maybe I make that like a note within 48 that says, this might look like 2 large deals plus 12 personal or something like that.
Well, let me ask you it this way. Would you feel like a success if you did 0 Apex deals, but you increased your personal family income by 60K with personal units? Would that feel like a success or a failure? 0 in one and 60K.
It would not feel like a success because we are both. So I'm committed both to my own personal income growth,
well, then you
but also to our growth as a company. and to our ability to help other investors. So I do view them kind of as two separate things.
Then I would get rid of the 60K, and I would say Apex needs to grow 20K. Personal units need to grow 25K, or because again, I don't like the unit count.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because right now it reads, hey, if I just, and the other answer is true. Hey, if we did 60K in Apex, but 0 in personal, that's a success. So I think I would divide that 60K up.
Okay. Yeah. I'll think through that, because I just kind of came up with a number.
Yeah.
And 60K, to be honest with you, isn't much of a stretch.
Yeah.
You do all these other things and that's going to happen. So I'm like, that number should probably be higher.
Well, good.
But again, it comes back to kind of the beauty of the money is really not my primary goal anymore, Michael.
I get it.
And, we've talked about that, and it's like, I want to make more, and I've got kids coming up in college, and it's a wise thing to do for wealth building and generational wealth. Mm-hmm. But if I put together some really great deals that I didn't make much money on the first year, even if I didn't make 60,000 more, I'm going to feel like a real success, because I'm doing the right thing, buying the right kind of deals with the right partners and the right investors. Yep. And some of those deals might not make me as much money. Or I could do one deal and say, woohoo, I made 60, I'm stopping for the year. Well, I don't want to do that either. Yeah. So this part's hard for me. It's hard to flesh out. And typically, to be honest with you, the only real goal that I had over the last 5 years that I was building this up was I knew that if I could make X number of dollars per door, I needed to buy 12 units minimum a year to get to the financial number I needed. So that was enough of a target for me to make good decisions to reach that number. Where now I don't have a number I have to hit, so it's hard for me to figure this part out and say,
I've been there.
So I'll hone in on these three and give it some more thought as to what I can make more actionable.
Yeah, I just think you need an Apex goal, you need a personal family goal, and then maybe you need a syndication goal, or whatever you would call that, management fee or finder's fee or whatever. I think you need to break it into the 3 chunks that is Anna. That's what I think.
Okay. No, that's good. I appreciate that feedback, because I was kind of struggling with, I might buy 30 more units in a month,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. And then, again, coming back to the activities that yield the success, regardless of the number, is I want to contact a broker a week in each of my target markets, and a potential partner a week with Apex. Actually, I moved that up to the top, so I'll take that part off.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And then we're sending targeted mailers in each of our target markets once a month to find off-market deals, and then meeting my Apex partner at least once a month to strategize and plan.
Do you want to put a number in 53, like 100 mailers a month, or some kind of minimum, or just the activity?
Just the activity. And primarily the reason for that is because we're being really careful about really honing in on what we want to buy and what we don't. Size of that unit, the geography. And so however many deals are in that fit that mold, we're mailing to all of them at one time. And so we're not saying let's mail to 5 of them this month and 5 of them next week. It's like, let's mail to everybody, and then let's do it again next month, and let's do it again next month. And each time it might be a different market. So that's why I didn't put a number there.
That makes sense. So when I look at this, when we go back to joy, happiness, and peace, right? That's what I wrote down.
Yeah. Still seems like a lot, right?
I'm like, you have like 60 to 80 hours of stuff. I mean,
well, remember what I said at the beginning. I said, now that I've put here's what I'd like to do. Now I need to go back into that time blocking that I was very strategic about to say, is this realistic? Can I really do all of this every week or every quarter or every month? Do I need to push some of these things out a year? And how can I fit it in? And if I have to start, I kind of like when building your house, I put in all the things of these are all the amenities I want. And we're like 50 grand above our absolute max. So what do we back off from and what do we really not need to do? So I did this as kind of a brain dump.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do over the next week, and doing this weekly with you makes me get to it sooner. So I like that you forced a date for me to do this by. I'm going to spend the next week going back through my time blocking and say, how much time would it take me to actually do this if it took me 30 minutes a day for each one of these, or 30 minutes a week? And how much time does that really look like? And then, okay, that's not going to work. So let's hone these in and take some off or make them less frequent.
Yeah. The other thing that I see here is you have some activities that should be done weekly the entire year. And then you have other things in this list that are like, hey, this is like going to be an 8 to 12 or 16 week thing. And then it's done. We never do it again. Right? Like the systematize and all of those things.
Right.
I wonder if you broke out and said, okay, here are the things that I want to do for 52 weeks or, whatever, 12 months. And then these are the short, then there's a list that's like, these are intense. I'm the only one that can do them. Things.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of play Tetris and move those around.
Yeah. That's good.
It'd be interesting.
I'll work through that.
Yeah, because again, though, I see lots of busy work. I see some fun and life-affirming things, like helping your son's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Got to feel great about that.
Yeah.
I see the health becoming important, but I also can see, given everything else, how if you don't time block it, the health stuff goes away. We haven't solved that yet.
Yeah. And that's why, if anything goes, to be honest with you, like if I had to prioritize these things, I mean, the top 3, those are non-negotiable. I'm not taking away
sure?
that.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yep. So my number one this year, because I don't need the money. Yeah. And I hate to even say that because it sounds arrogant. I don't mean it that way.
No.
But I'm just saying, by the grace of God, I've already achieved financial freedom. So if doing more makes it stressful, then I'm not doing well by doing more just to make more money. And
that's where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at right now. Okay.
So to me, these top 3 are my top 3, and nothing I'm going to let get in the way of those things.
So let's talk about the top. See, when I look at the top 3, I see there's no reason that even doing every row of the top 3 should take more than, I don't know what that would be, 20 hours a week. I mean, because maybe it's 25 hours, but that is very, very doable. It doesn't look like they're competing with each other. They kind of feed on each other. Yeah. You can space them out really well. I don't think if those are truly the non-negotiables, those should be a walk in the park with you. It's holding yourself accountable to being non-negotiable.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And that's what my husband keeps saying too, and I'm like, I know. And that's where, when I don't know if I talked to you about like my personal growth statement and my like key characteristics and who I want to become.
Not yet.
Let's talk about that maybe next week, because it's how I kind of look at this lens of priorities. I've created this, like, here's what I want to become. Here's who I want to be. And here are the non-negotiables that are character traits or attributes of who I want to be. Okay. And if any of these things get in the way of that goal, then those things need to go.
Okay.
So I'm evaluating my business things through the lens of every opportunity. Is it going to create more stress, take away the time to do the things that I say I want to do? Yeah. And if it does, the answer is no. Yeah. And so that's why it's also hard for me to say a certain number of units or a certain number of money too, because it's kind of like those are the ancillary things. Mm-hmm. If something has to go, obviously the things that have to happen are the top 3.
Yep.
I have to asset and property manage my properties.
Yep.
And I really want to continue to grow my cash flow and my net worth.
Yeah.
So if anything goes, I'm not doing a course. I'm not doing a book. I'm not doing a podcast. Yep. I'm not posting on social media. So, I can still give back by doing my other stuff.
Yeah. The green and the blue are the 2 sections that feel like they're competing for the same minutes of the day.
Yeah, they are, which is why I'm not consistent with them. And it's this battle of, okay, I'm slacking. I should be doing this. This is giving back. But then saying, oh gosh, like quite frankly, today,
Yeah.
I've had calls this week, 3 days a week. I mean, I'm on calls back to back to back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go do this and this and this. And it's because I've time blocked myself into all these meetings. And I'm like, okay, I gave back and I feel good that I did it. It keeps me doing it.
Yeah.
But yet it is a little bit stressful. So it's finding that balance of, I need to keep myself accountable to doing something.
Yeah.
But yet I don't want to do it to the point that it becomes stressful.
Yeah. I think you, again, right, this could come to the detriment of our weekly shows, but I think you need to sit back over the holidays and figure out the green and blue, because you clearly can do something, which I don't think you can do all of those. And I think if you keep the green and the blue, you're going to be more stressed than you should. And that's not joy, happiness, and peace.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to do.
And some of these I think I can combine. So for example, if I do a guest podcast interview, that's my share on Facebook for the week.
Yeah, that's true.
If I'm doing a video, then that's my share on Facebook for the week. So I can kind of combine some of these. But I definitely want to keep doing the weekly show with you every week. I love it. If you don't get mad at me for not getting to a video every single week that's separate, then
no, it's fine with me.
Maybe
I'll take whatever we get
to quarterly at first or something, But I hear you.
I think because you can and you're able to help, your list gets so big. But then we got to go back to joy, happiness, and peace.
Yeah.
And you could really stress yourself out.
Yeah.
And
it's that habit of having a lot of good things to do. Like it does give me joy and peace to be able to help people and do these things. Mm-hmm. But if you do too much of it, then it doesn't.
Yeah, so and that's the coaching one new student per quarter just freaks me out. I'm like, how the heck is she going to control the front door? They're going to be coming in through the windows and the chimney. And I'm like, oh my God, this hurts my head. Okay.
I'm glad to hear you say that because, I'm like, man, I wasted a year not helping more people. And
well, see we got it. You are helping hundreds of people, and you need to know that. Just because they're not a student doesn't mean you're not helping hundreds, if not thousands of people. Pat yourself on the back. You are.
Oh, I appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you got to change your lens because you're impacting hundreds, if not thousands of people every week. Acknowledge that and own that. Put that on the list.
I appreciate that. Yeah. When you're really busy for a long time, I feel like, I've accomplished a lot of things, that I'm thankful I've accomplished, but in terms of serving other people, kind of like coming back to the ministries and stuff, I haven't been able to because I've been so focused on the other. So part of me is like, oh, I finally have time. I can start really serving and giving back to people because it does bring me joy. And kind of catch up for the years that I didn't do much for other people other than my own family, and now it's like, okay, am I doing enough? So I'm thankful to hear you say that.
Just broaden your lens a little bit. You're touching thousands of people a week, all in a positive way. I've never heard anybody say anything bad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Own that. The student, that'll be the thing that tips you over the edge. I can see that becoming a problem again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always good to hear other people's perspective, and no matter how much we think we have it figured out, we don't. And so it's good to have other people say, okay, slow down, horsey. I think I'm slowing down. You told me before I retired, wow, I can't wait to see what you do. And I'm like, no, I'm going to slow down. And I'm still trying to pull in the reins. So
I knew that was coming. I've been there.
Yeah, you have.
This is funny. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's going to be fun watching you collapse and kind of juggle that. Cause I think right now you're playing a game of Tetris with too many pieces. You got to go back to joy, happiness, and peace. I'm going to hold you accountable to those first 3 sections.
Thank you.
We're tracking weekly. So, it's pretty easy to see early indications of veering off the path. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, let's help each other and keep each other accountable on that.
You got it. All right. Well,
And
thank you
for
very
any of
much.
you other listeners, I encourage y'all to do the same thing. Like take this spreadsheet. Maybe Michael, you can share the template, and the
Absolutely.
links or something, and go through this process, because it really does help us to kind of hone in on what's most important. What do I want to do? And then is it realistic to actually do it all? And if not, what do I back off? So it's a great exercise.
I will find a way to link it in the show notes. Thank you very much for the week and have a wonderful day.